Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and tonight I'm proud to bring you the creative process hosted by Nick Curto.
Hi, Hercules. Great to be with you and our audience tonight. Creative process, very special place in my life for sure. It's one of my favorite subjects, as you know.
I look forward to your show. I'll be here if you need me.
Okay, will do. Thank you so much. And the creative process is to me, it's magic. It's magic. Ever since I was a kid, I've been creative. It was just a natural thing that was just in my DNA, I guess. I always loved having a chance to create something new. When I was a kid, I painted, I did clay sculptures, paper sculptures. Actually had my own puppet theater. My dad built it for me, and I would take it to school and give puppet shows. I would write the scripts, and I had a couple other friends who were puppeteers. And so that was part of my creative process. And junior grade school and junior high, I went to the Walter Vincent Smith Art Museum in Springfield, Massachusetts, where I was born. And I took creative painting, and that was an amazing experience. Wonderful professor there, gave great instruction, and it just encouraged me to go further. Um, Going to college, I chose and was lucky to get in the Massachusetts College of Art and Design. I took a graphic advertising course, and when it was graduation time and I was ready to go, the only place I wanted to go more than anything in the world was New York City to start my career. And so I remember it was a little plaid suitcase and my portfolio and on a Greyhound bus and going to New York City. And I had purchased a book called Living in New York on $35 a day. Now, that is quite humorous right now, but that's what the book was. And I lived by that. I found a little hotel and started looking for a job and a place to stay. Anyhow, long story short, it was the best move I've ever made. And now, tonight we have a wonderful guest, and we're going to do a part two because we ran out of time. 1 hour went really quickly with my guest, and we wanted to do a part two to continue on a wonderful story of pursuing a career in the arts. Gerald Van Heelden, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you. I'm pleased to be here.
Great to have you here. And the last time we did an hour, we talked about your very early beginnings. And I think we left off when you were thinking about coming to New York City. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, that
Okay.
is.
And how
Yes.
old were you? And what were you leaving? And what were you expecting to find?
Well, uh, I had been on a path. I really wanted to go to a conservatory setting. So I really trained and took extra amounts of time because I also wanted to pursue my bachelor degree, but I wanted the training in conservatory that I received both in drama and in dance and in the music department. So I was a little bit hesitant to go right to New York after graduating. So I went down south, down to Florida, just to because I had family that were down there. And I just was recovering after 6.5 years of pursuing my degree and finally receiving it from Boston Conservatory.
Excellent,
So
excellent.
but then I got engaged. I had to take some kind of a day job to pursue my art when I was in Florida and got involved with several community theaters
Oh,
uh, to practice and got to know the theater crowd in my particular area of the Palm Beaches. So, but it was also a weighing station for me because I did want to come to New York, and after a year, I had the energy and the stamina and the understanding to some degree of coming to New York and pursuing being an actor. So that's really what brought me here to New York. Initially was to be an actor, and then I uh, came to New York, and this was in the mid '80s, and it's quite a different place now. And I was not fully aware of how you promote yourself and how you market yourself as an actor. That we weren't well prepared for that, but they subsequently, after a certain amount of time at conservatory, they began to really help the students prepare themselves for being uh, in the world of auditioning and what have you, and pursuing and creating yourself as a business. So, but thankfully, I did get some work along with my day job. And then I had my epiphany when I was really getting interested in joining a theater company, and more important, because of my creative aspirations and doing a couple of shows, I really found expression in working with new work. So I got involved with uh, presenting both new musicals and new plays, and I found a home shortly after coming to New York, off Broadway, that is well known, has been well known, and it was there that I had the epiphany that I finally wanted to be involved in as a director, learning about presenting and working with actors on new material.
Now, you said that you said you did some acting also.
Correct, correct,
Now,
correct.
how, because that's very different, as we all know, from directing. So
Yes,
the first stop really was acting, you said.
correct,
And
correct.
you take me on the journey here that you acted, you probably were under some wonderful directors and that you took instruction from, but you
Yes.
felt as though you might actually be the director instead of the actor.
Yes.
What process was that? Did you just feel as though that was even more to your goal, or?
Um, it was several things, Nick. I had a very influential acting job. It was I remember to this day, it was a Gershwin musical review, and I really I was hired. We toured around the New York City boroughs, and it was everything I had hoped it would be in terms of using all of my musical theater training and my musical theater skills. But I went to I was not I had a real awakening politically when I came to New York, and then when I got involved in this particular show, there were some very difficult dealings with the producer of the show, and I felt that certain things were not being done uh, in an upfront kind of way, and also, but it, so I really went to task, and he reminded me on many occasions that it wasn't my place
Oh,
to,
okay.
yeah, it wasn't my place to have any concerns. But it was I found my own as an actor presenting in the piece, So I was really caught between a rock and a hard place. And then I began to network with a lot of fellow actors, and then getting involved in this theater. I had the opportunity to understand and become a part of a directing unit uh, off Broadway, and it just all came into my awareness at that time that I really wanted to be the one behind the table, and I wanted to be working on scripts and new work of merit that really spoke to me, and it brought all of my political understandings, all of my skills, uh, to understand how to create pictures, in a play, how to deal with the dramatic elements, and how to work with actors. And I think that's was the big thing, was that I found a process by being at 13th Street Repertory Company. I was able to find a process that really came out of my acting background, and I knew what the process was for actors, and what world they had to navigate in taking on a character. And I really enjoyed and really felt full when I was able to shape and guide and work with them. But it was from my training as an actor, all the various schools of acting, all the various processes that I learned. As an actor in creating a role, I then would be get at the foundation of that in working with an actor to find their way in a particular role. So and I felt alive, and I felt validated, and I felt wow, I this is something, I just get this. I know how to do this. So that
You're
was
describing something very, it hits home to me because when you're, say, an actor and you're underneath a director, and yet you're seeing things that you think would be much better, but you're not in a position to override the director, is a very, very frustrating situation.
yes, yeah.
And I've been there in other degrees of that, and I know what that's like. And you just sometimes want to scream because to you it's so obvious that this will make it so much better, and yet
Mm-hmm.
it's not your place. And you can even be very tactful, but you don't want to step on any toes or hurt any feelings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, I want to scream. I want to do this so much. I know what it needs. I know what it needs. And yet you're not going to be heard in your position.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I totally get that. It can be really frustrating and fry every nerve in your body when that goes
Yes.
on. So I've been
Yes.
there on other levels, but I know what you're saying. And so that really hit home.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so so here we go. We're putting on another hat here. And now you also said something about New York had changed in some ways. Did you mean the structure of theater, or how to market yourself? If you could go into that a little.
Yes, I can. So uh, you um, show business is show business, and the other part of show is business, and you have to really understand when you arrive in New York, and you begin to audition, and to try to get work, and to try to grow, and that you are perceived in a particular kind of way across the audition table. And you have to uh, understand how to really work with that, and put that best face forward in what kind of person you present to the interviewers who are across the table if you're auditioning as an actor. And Uh, I just was very, I didn't understand the business side of it, the presenting yourself and packaging yourself, and for really going after some very good acting roles when you first come to New York and auditioning. And now it's just they coming out of most theater programs, conservatory programs. It's not hammered over your head, but you understand very clearly the business and the auditioning side of getting in the door and getting seen, and what that's all about, and how to present yourself, and what kind of person you represent to someone who's looking to cast a particular role. And so now, because now that I'm on the other side of the table and have been for a number of years, and it's through no fault of that actor, but I'm have a script in front of me and I'm looking for something very particular that an actor that an actor is giving across the table, because this particular role, or there's several roles here, I have to get an understanding of their ability to embrace that part and to make it their own, and be guided into that role by myself as a director. So, and now I have the maturity of really understanding that that's what you need to know as a young actor auditioning. It's not just it's about showing that inner self of who you are across the table to the auditionees at on the other side of the table, in the material that you choose to audition with. So.
Now, there's probably, I would think, some young actors looking in to this program. And what you're mentioning here is very important. You have a goal as a young actor of getting a good part and showing what you can do. But here you are auditioning, probably with other actors too, wanting the same role. And is there anything you could share with us about things to do and not to do on an interview that would perhaps jeopardize your chances of securing a part?
Yes, yes. A couple of things come to mind in that, as much as it is possible to be well versed and have really know the material that you are presenting at the audition as much as possible, because then you can relax into it and go to a place in your work as an actor that just has no, it's just pure, and it's very real, and it's not affected in any way, as opposed to uh, presenting something that you think is might be what the auditioners are looking for. So it's about knowing your material intimately, not learning it the night before, or a couple of days before, so that then you can really be comfortable in being present, and you can overwhelm your nervousness with um, your solid abilities, and to present the material and not give in to all kinds of anxiety and nerves about is this going right, or is do they want to hear me? It's just being yourself. And I know that's oftentimes a difficult thing for a young actor, even sometimes for a seasoned early career actor. But it's valuable advice to really be well versed and prepared in the material, and have that vocabulary of many pieces that are appropriate for whatever the role is, to bring them to the table.
Well said. It takes, again, there's different elements of that too. I think just being polite is could be very important, because some people have an arrogance about them, or it's all about me. And if I was interviewing, I would very quickly sense that and think, uh-oh, this could possibly be trouble on the set, things like that. I know when I was auditioning, I was running an art department in a major corporation, and I needed someone to assist me. And I remember interviewing people, and one particular woman came in, and she had a good portfolio, and she was pleasant enough. And then I said, "Oh, I'd like a copy of your resume." And she pulled out one paper and she said, "Could you make me 50 copies of this, please? Because I don't have any." And I'm thinking, wait a second, you're asking me to leave my office and to go to a Xerox machine. And she didn't say even please, she said, "Would you just make me please 50 copies?" I thought, you just lost your job, because it was just an attitude that she had. And I picked up on that. I didn't obviously let on at the moment that you're not going to get this job, but it was obvious to me that there was an attitude going on about it's all about me, and do this for me and do that for me. And that was not her role at all. So
Yes,
things
yes,
like that.
and you bring up a very good point, Nick. I'm pleased you did. And from a director sitting across the table, you're also interviewing the person as an actor, and how they interplay with you, and how and what the exchange is with the monitor outside in the room, and then when they come in. And yes, I couldn't support that enough. That it's also about you're learning about, do you want to dance with this person
Nope.
for for a very intimate period of time, and so you're interviewing them, even though they're going to be doing material and they may be very talented, but you're trying to gauge who they are, underneath all that material, and how they might approach the process of working on a new role. And yes, I have just a huge memory over the last 5 or 10 years, when I've been sitting at the table doing auditions, and just the nicest people would come through and they would really deliver on their audition. But then there were some fierce people who just um, didn't understand uh, what the part they were auditioning for. They didn't really, they hadn't really prepared or really looked at the material, especially when they were given sides to come in. They had them, and then they had an idea of uh, what they thought it should be, which is fine. But then they also had ulterior motives going on, where they wanted to really be considered for this role or that role, and they really let it be known. So right away, that's a red flag. That's a real red flag, because as talented as many of them were, uh, that situation becomes very problematic in the rehearsal process, and it tells you something about being able to work with them moving forward.
And it's a team
Yes,
process. It's a team process, and you want people to be strong in a team feeling that we're doing this together. We want a success. We want something that's going to really win an audience, and the reviews are going to be good. And to do that, you've got to have someone that's going to give and take, and someone who's going to be a real team. And when you find that, it's like finding gold, absolute gold, because okay, we found that person, we got the
Yeah.
right one. And it's a wonderful thing when you feel as though, thank God they came. They're perfect. Let's go. Let's have a good time and let's make this sing. Let's rock. Let's absolutely
Yes.
rock with this. So
Yes.
absolutely get that. All right. So take us now to the next step. You're in New York City. Now, I know when I was in New York, everything was brand new to me. I never, except for a tourist on an occasion, I never really experienced New York City as living here. And everything
Yes.
was brand new. Like,
Yeah.
where was Greenwich Village? Where was Harlem? Where's the theater district? Where's a good place to live? How can I afford? You know, all these things, and trying to make your money last as long as you can until you got your first job, and all of that comes into play here. And did you have friends that would help you when you came to New York, or was this all brand new?
Well, it was brand new for me, and I think it was I did know some people, but then I started I had to so that I could maintain some standard of living. I had to get a day job. So I went and I did a lot of temp working
Hmm.
over long periods of time. I did a lot of day jobs, both salaried and long-term jobs. But on top of that, I was constantly pursuing my artistic and my work first as an actor, which was only because I had the epiphany within, I would say, at least for going on after 4 years being in New York as an actor, is when I had the epiphany to get involved off Broadway at this well-known theater, and where everything came together for me. But I was also becoming more politically aware. I came from a very sheltered political upbringing because we moved around so much, and it was about family and and uh, we were a pretty close knit family. But it was an awakening when I came to New York and became very politically aware, and that lent itself to my finding my place at this off Broadway theater. And this was at the height of the AIDS epidemic,
Oh
when
boy.
there was nothing. They were the formation, the gay men's health crisis was
Hmm.
just happening in apartment buildings. But it touched me directly. I remember because when I got ensconced at the theater, I had the opportunity for the first time to create my own musical shows from scratch.
Wow.
Yes, from scratch, with the encouragement of the artistic director. And so I did that, and that was where I had all this passion, and my skills began to develop as a director, working with material and putting stories together. But many of the actors who worked with me on several of the projects, uh, uh, many of them were unfortunately they were struck down by AIDS by the early 90s. It was just horrific what was going on, and so it was quite a human, you know, it was quite a human experience for me to navigate, and I became very politically aware, and I began to understood how many places function, many societies function, and many cultures function politically. And I took all of that stuff, and instead of um, reacting, I turned it in and put it into my work that I did with New Works.
You're describing such a nightmare that
Yeah,
happened to everyone,
yeah,
whether you were gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, or
yeah.
simply had friends that were from that community, or just simply your neighbors and friends, younger people that had their whole lives before them, and then all of a sudden they were on their deathbed. They were in
Yeah.
hospitals. I lost several of my dearest friends, and it was one of the hardest things of my life is to, because I thought my friends were going to be there for me always. We were going to have a full life together and we were going to have our golden age together. And all
Hmm.
of a sudden, that was absolutely pulled like a rug from underneath me. And many people had the same thing. All of a sudden, we were in a nightmare and there was no ending to that.
Hmm.
And it was just a horrific time. And the Broadway theaters, of course, were so struck. All the creative, the visual arts, uh, so many people were now trying to stay alive
Yes.
with terrible circumstances. And the boy was, and that came up out of nowhere. It seemed like all of a sudden we were under attack, literally under attack. And you're describing a very difficult time. And if you were in the creative industries too, that was even harder because there were so many people affected. So, I'm glad you brought that up though, because that's an element that a lot of people were facing and trying to survive it, just surviving that.
Yes. Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now tell us about some of the projects that you had mentioned.
Yes.
Very
Well,
interesting. Like, were they, how did they originate from a composer or from a writer or how did you get involved? And a little more about that because I'd be very interested.
yes, yes. Well, so I initially got involved at the off Broadway theater because the artistic director of the theater was looking to form a directing unit at the theater. Actors were also welcome, but uh, that was becoming less and less of a desire to be an actor because I understood that my particular type of who I represented, and when I was at the auditioning for something, it was not it was not going to be an easy road. I was a kind of a character actor at a very young age in terms of how I presented. So, in this director's unit, we would meet every week and be looking for projects to do at the theater. But there was this huge backlog of scripts that the off Broadway theater had received, and so I was very curious, and I was looking for something to do and to discover, my storytelling abilities with, and I found a couple of diverse scripts there. But then I got this idea that I wanted to uh, tell a different story. I wanted to take some of the material that was in this backlog of scripts and investigate it. But then I decided I wanted to tell a uniquely original story, and I began to inquire. I found some musicals in the drawer, and I wound up, wanting to use some of the music that was in some of these scripts, but I wanted to use them in my own original script that I was, I was putting together and creating with the other actors. So that was my first inroads of understanding, how do you use material that's been written and created by somebody else and whatnot, and how do you get that? How do you do put all that together when it's not yours and you're taking it and putting into a new show. So that was that was my beginning of really coming up with a story, a foundation, developing scenes with actors, and then using um, this myriad of different musical theater numbers that were in some of these other new shows that were in the bin, and I felt might help tell my story, and bring, put it all together and say something of merit within the story. So that was one particular success I had. I also got involved with two original musicals. Both had been submitted to 13th Street, and wound up presenting them there. Both musicals. One was a theater for young audience musical called A Show of Hands. Fumi Cohen, who's well known in the theater community in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, for all of her prolific writing. But Fumi Cohen had written this incredible, interesting musical about um, uh, uh, pianists who are in a competition, and they all meet for the fateful challenge. And it's all about their journey, these 8 or 9 people who come together, and it tells their backstory, and she'd written some really interesting songs for them. And so that was my next really, after my original project, my next really big piece that I put together, that I directed, and it had a nice run. And then my next big piece after that, before I kind of moved forward from the theater, was an original musical, Windows. Uh, it was called, yeah, Windows of Love, Windows of Love, and it was a story about a diverse group of people who lived on the Metro North Railroad up and down Long Island. And it was some traditional storytelling, but it was filled with incredible numbers and musical numbers, choreography, and some very interesting dynamics in terms of what kind of relationships were being explored. So these were all very early in my career, having that opportunity to really learn my trade.
And what you brought up is something too that actually has struck me recently, and that is the legalities. And you had mentioned taking some music that you
Yeah.
felt was exceptional, but with fitting it into something else that you were working on. Now, did you have legal counsel? Did you seek legal help to say, how in the world do I legally do this? And are there contracts, there's agreements, and that's a whole other hat to wear, but it's an
Yes.
important hat.
Yes, it's an important hat, Nick, and I remember the conversations we've had over the last year, that you and I discussed. But so thankfully, it was a couple of shows that I had found this music that were sitting in this drawer, this bin at 13th Street, and so I did my due diligence, and I did make contact with the writers in each of the shows, and I asked for their permission to use the material, and the permission was given. I think if it had ever moved forward in terms of getting it published, we would have to then have gone into negotiation. But at the
Right.
time, I was aware that I just couldn't take some material and copiously put it into my own show. I needed to do the right thing, and the artistic director said, who had a lot of experience over the years with musicals and new works, said, well, contact we have the material is all copyrighted, but it's right there how to contact them, and I did, and it was I was birthing my new show, and they were happy to allow me to use that material. So it did, but if it had gone to the level of having it be published or produced on a commercial level, then that would have required, officially getting working out a contract with the original creators.
There would be fees, I would think, for not only
Yes,
the lawyers, but
fees and royalties. Yeah,
compensation for their creative works
right,
and
right,
getting all that agreed upon and signed, sealed,
right,
and delivered. So it's a
right.
whole other world that,
Yes,
but you have to know it, and you have to use that. And so it's a whole other part of the process. And yeah,
yes,
you
yeah.
just
It's
have to
very
do that.
important. It's very important because I can't tell you the number of people early or halfway through my career that you know had a sad story about starting work on this great material that they'd gotten a hold of, and I'm sure the estate's going to love it when I take their material, and but they didn't, and they started writing things, but they just didn't get permission,
Oh boy.
and so their project essentially is dead in the water when you don't have when your project is in any way encumbered. It's a non-starter with any kind of contributor or producer, because they want to have um, full uh, they want to have the ability to have um, full licensing guarantees. And when you don't, the material you've written for, you don't have the agreement, or you've not been given the go ahead, then you cannot offer that to a producer, because on very rare occasions they might go back to the creator and say, negotiate something, but that's very uncommon because the creative people who write it really uh, have to have the full weight of owning that property, because that's what
Absolutely.
because that's what when a musical when the book writing is done, when the lyric writing and when the music writing is done, then and it forms into a full binding property rights piece, and that then becomes, that is their property, and that's their and it has to be unencumbered. It has to be unencumbered by anybody, putting up a red flag and saying, well, you don't have permission. And all throughout my career thus far, every so often it's been kept from me, but the material, at some level, on occasion, that problem has come to the surface, and it's a horrible feeling because the project dies if you don't have, you know you can maybe work to try to get the rights to it, but you've already put in all that work, So it's just it's a very bad situation all around.
Oh boy, you want to avoid that at all costs,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
sure that goes on a lot. And
yeah,
to have
yeah,
something absolutely clear about and legally locked up, so that
yeah,
there's no, uh-oh, we forgot this, and therefore we're not going to be able to use what we really wanted to. So we're going to have to create something else. We're going to have to go back to square one for the scene because now we need new music.
yeah,
I can imagine the nightmare
yeah,
that could happen if
yeah,
it's not so meticulously thought out, examined, and legally perfect before you
yeah,
go on. So I'm sure that could be
yeah.
troubling. So all right. So given that, now where are we now? Where are we with your directing and what's going on
Well,
next?
so it was my springboard to being at 13th Street Rep and for a number of years, basically through the the early 90s. It was my springboard that I remember it was at amongst several of the directors who were on the unit, who each of us, we would direct various things at the theater. But it was there that I learned about my union that I've been a lifelong member of now in my directing career. I learned about what it was to be an associate director, and then you could grow to be a full-time director. And that was a huge step for me. But the other side of directing is about developing relationships. So my career has grown and filled in various niche audience and niche opportunities because of something I've done in the past. So I had the opportunity to I went to a very well-known summer camp for theater and Hollywood stars children called Stage Door Manor, and I was recommended to the producing director there, and that's how I was hired to direct one of the plays there for my group of students. And from that, I started building relationships and got involved in being a teaching artist, but also going to various theaters in the New Jersey area, tri-state area. Once I had some directing of musicals underneath my belt, I answered several um, solicitations in the trades for a director. Nothing was online at that time. It was all trades and newspapers and various bulletin boards looking for this, looking for that. And I developed, a circle of places that I would reach out to and continue to expand my interest. But more importantly, the big trend, the big change in my career was when I answered an ad for uh, Black Spectrum Theater in St. Albans, Queens.
Oh, wow.
They were looking for a director to teach, to direct the big summer camp, summertime musical that they do
Oh,
every year. And it was quite I brought all my stuff to the table, and I remember interviewing with the executive director, and but it felt like home because I've always been very, very comfortable around non-white people. It just felt like home. My dad is from South Africa, so I felt home. I felt comfortable,
that's wonderful.
but it was very, very challenging. I remember the first year, but I stayed for subsequent years and really was given free rein to do the very best I could with the young people, and wound up directing over 7 or 8 seasons, major musicals
Excellent.
every summer, and I had a good contract at from SDC, the theater, signed on to. And also then I was invited to get involved with the year-round program for theater, theater arts for young people that the theater ran. So I would direct the year-end project in the spring was always a play. So I directed a play with young people, both elementary and then high school. And then it was when I was at Black Spectrum that I uh, uh, had the opportunity to reach out and interview for a position at the Midtown International Theater Festival.
Wow.
And I had been reading and evaluating musicals for a number of years because I was administrative director for musicals at National Music Theater Network, which became the New York Musical Theater Festival. So I had a lot of experience with reading and evaluating musicals. And then my experience with being a director added well. So I interviewed for the MITF artistic director position, and I was hired. So my job was to find and nurture playwrights with both plays or with musicals that wanted to come and present their piece or be considered for MITF. And it also gave me the opportunity to get involved with many of the plays as well. So I became a director at the festival with these plays, and many of these playwrights I would go back to over my career the last 20 years and have directed time and again several of their plays.
Excellent. You know, when it becomes the kind of job that doesn't seem like work, but simply play, when it's not looking at the clock and going, oh, we have 5 more hours to go, but it's
Yeah,
simply, I'm having such a good time.
yeah,
It's all the difference in the whole world.
yeah,
And it sounds to me as though you certainly have lived that. You really
yes,
have.
yes,
And
yes,
I'm so happy for you that you really have come into your own as far as your own dreams and goals, and you've accomplished that. You really have. And I'm sure that the future is going to be bright based on everything you've done. And what do you have in mind now for the next
well,
near future? Is there
near
some
future. Well,
particular
I
thing?
I want to leave people with an important professional discovery that I made.
Okay.
Um, and it all of my work led me to a point where I finally understood what my process is and what my what the shape and the form and the nature of my vision is, and how I can translate that through the plays, and most importantly, working with the actors. And that was because I was connecting to a place in myself. So I was developing my own unique style, and not style, but understanding, and putting my own imprint that I wasn't imposing something on the work, but I was finally working from a place of this is who I am and this is what I'm bringing, and this is kind of what I want my legacy to be, was telling this story with these actors. And so now it's really very much about I want to bring joy in the room when the projects I'm working on now. I want to bring hope, and I want to lift up the actors, and I want to tell very profound and meaningful stories about humanity. Is what I really look to, and I'm very excited. I've also been on the producing end of projects as well as being a director,
Hmm.
and that is another whole discussion. But I tend to be driven toward projects that have something of real merit and meaning. Um, I, I I'm not much interested in you know, drivel or in, political, whitewashing stories. It doesn't interest me. I don't think that challenges people. And I think most importantly, I never ever hope and never want to talk down to audiences in any of my work. I feel like that is wrong. It's wrong to talk down to audiences and disrespect people.
You're in a good place. You
Yes,
really are. You paid the price and you're in a good place. So, okay, now that the time is coming oh my God, it goes so quickly. It
yeah,
really does.
we have,
Um,
Nick. We've just been going at it.
it does, but it disappears. Do you
Yes,
have a website or some way that
yes.
people could know about when you're doing something?
Yes, they sure can. It is just my name, www.geraldvanheerden.com. And you can click on that, www.geraldvanheerden.com. And there's just a huge amount of information, biographies, a look at the diverse work that I've done, and ways to get in touch with me and to learn about kind of what my background is and how I market myself and what the financial stakes are in getting involved with me in various levels on projects.
Thank you for sharing your story with us. It was so interesting. I did learn a lot, and it was a joy to know you and to hear about your amazing journey. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Nick. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Again, I just want to say to the audience that creativity has been everything to me in my life. And I'm more involved in creative projects now than I've ever been before. I've never been so happy to be involved in creative projects in music, in puppetry, in theater. I'm working on an art show right now, and all of this, one thing contributes to the other. And what a joy it is to embrace creativity. And I encourage everybody to embrace creativity in your own expression in some way in your life, and you will understand what a joy it is to be able to create something new. And I wish everyone that journey. Say good night now from the creative process. This is Nick Curto. Thank you for viewing this particular program, and we'll have more to come.
And
And
thank you
thank
both
you,
for
thank
sharing
you,
your
Hercules.
journeys. I learned a lot as well. I wish you success in all your endeavors. Have a wonderful evening to both of you.
Take good
Thank you.
care. Much love
Thank you,
to everyone out
Hercules.
there. Much love.
Thank you.